Khushboo Razdan, and this is Foreign Correspondents Talk Series 2024, an initiative by the Association of Foreign Press Correspondents USA, where we invite members of the foreign press community to talk about their story and experiences. And today I have with me Washington based Japanese journalist Rintaro Tobita. Rintaro, thank you so much for joining us. I know you're joining us from office, a busy day, but thank you so much for coming. I have a special place for Japan and everybody from Japan.
Yeah, hi, Khushboo. Thank you for this valuable opportunity today. I have done many interviews, but today this is the first time for me to be the interviewee. It's interesting and exciting, but I feel some nervous, but it's okay. Thank you so much today.
No, yeah, thank you so much. I mean, this is going to be great. So I just wanted to know first, uh, how did you first get started in journalism? What inspired you to pursue this career? Is it a popular line of field in Japan?
Oh, okay. When I was a university student, I met people working in a variety of jobs to find out what I wanted to do with my life.
Mm-hmm,
Finally, I met some journalists. I was inspired by their determination to observe and understand society. I simply wanted to be like this person.
mm-hmm,
So I tried to join in several news media in Japan.
mm-hmm,
Fortunately, my company, Nikkei, chose me. People working in as a job focus on their industry, right? But
mm-hmm,
journalists can think about the world from many angles.
mm-hmm,
We can see with our own eyes, use our own feet, and think with our mind.
mm-hmm,
I thought when I die, I might be satisfied if I worked as a journalist. This job can be tough,
uh-huh.
but sometimes I feel that the dream I had when I was a university student is right.
Mm-hmm. What did you study at the university? What was your subject?
Oh, my subject was politics and economics.
I see. And on what beat do you cover in Washington?
Oh yeah, thank you question. My cover area is economic security and trade. Um, but from this spring,
Mm-hmm.
I started to cover security and politics of United States.
Mm-hmm. So, what
Yeah.
motivated you to, move to Washington, D.C.? Did you always wanted to come to the U.S., specifically, covering U.S. Japan relationship? Because we are at this time where Japan is, the whole, like, Prime Minister Kishida said that Japan is now globalizing. It's coming out to the world. It's saying we have a standing in the world. He was right here in
Mhm.
D.C. a few weeks ago, and you were covering that. So did you always wanted to come to the US and cover US Japan relations?
Oh, thank you so much for your question. As you know, Washington, D.C. is a political, diplomatic, and economic center of the world. And I feel that everything is moving from here. After World War II, Japan's politics, economy, and society and culture were very strongly influenced by the United States.
Mm-hmm.
To know US is to know Japan. To know Japan, you must understand US politics,
Mm-hmm.
society, and people. Japan is allied with the United States, and Japan's security would not be possible without United States military power. What kind of path the US people choose is so critical for Japan. So it is very interesting for me to follow what is going on in the United States and Washington.
Mm-hmm. How do you see, Prime Minister Kishida was just, he's just left. How do you see the relationship right now? Is it getting better?
Mm. What can I say? The Japan-U.S. relationship is very, very good now, historically speaking. Japan has now raised its defense spending to 2% of the GDP to meet the request of the United States. The Biden administration has welcomed this, and for the US, it was also a big deal that
Mm-hmm.
Japan was tougher on Russia than the US expected after Russia's invasion of Ukraine. However, oh yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
This is my quick answer. Thank you.
Okay, okay. I wanted to ask, like, has there been any experience that, felt left a, a lasting impact on you, something that really stands out, some story that you did as a, journalist in your career that, still inspires you? Is there anything that still, comes to your mind often?
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry to be so domestic story, but 10 years ago, I
Uh-huh.
spent two days with a couple in their 80s
Mm.
in close contact the whole time. The wife could not move
Mm-hmm.
the lower half of her body. The
Mm-hmm.
woman was paralyzed from the waist down.
Mm-hmm.
The husband was taking care of her all the time. The husband was very complicated between continuing to take care of his wife by himself and
Mm-hmm.
putting her in care home. He was torn between his love for her and the heavy physical burden. I wrote an article about the daily life of this elderly couple.
Mm-hmm.
It gave me an opportunity to think deeply in my mind about what it means to live in the aging society. Japan is the world's most aging society, as you may know. Now, Asian countries have also started aging. It will soon become a common challenge all over the world.
Yeah, very interesting because China is also dealing with the same issue. Many European countries are also experiencing the same thing. If I could just go back to the U.S. Japan relationship, since you were talking about it, are there any challenge? What are the challenges and opportunities that you feel, that are going forward that we have between U.S. and Japan?
hmm Thank you for a very interesting question. Um, I was surprised after I came to Washington that there is a strong inward looking economic policy of the United States. It uses huge subsidies to strengthen its own industry and the U.S. worker. Not only Donald Trump, but also this trend in the Washington and the United States will not change for the next 10 years or so, I feel.
Mm-hmm.
In Japan, many people still believe that promoting free trade is very important. So, how Japan will handle this American first policy will become a very big issue. And China is a very important trade partner for Japan. How much Japan can cooperate with United States strict policy toward China is also a big issue.
Hmm. Do you think, there's a lot happening back home as well. So if we could talk about, the political landscape back home and how is it really impacting Japan's, international relations? You can talk about in terms of the relationship with the US as well, but if you could give us a brief of like what's happening back home and how it's impacting Japan's policy towards the world.
Prime Minister Kishida's approval rate is right now at a historical low due to the LDP's political money scandal.
That is the
His
ruling party.
visit, yeah,
That is
yeah,
the ruling party in
his
Japan.
visit,
Okay.
mhm, mhm. His visit to Washington last days seems to be a success for us, but his low approval rate will not change easily.
Mm-hmm.
And this September, the LDP will choose its next leader. Kishida want to continue, but it is very unclear whether Kishida can win again. Yes.
So do you think like the deals that were signed during his visit with President Biden, do you think the fact that it will be hard for him to come back to power will impact those deals or the promises that were made during, because here also in the US we have an election coming up. So there's an election here and there's an election there, and I know there's a party election in Japan. But what I hear is that Prime Minister Kishida could call for election. Am I correct?
Mhm.
Do you think that that kind of uncertainty will impact the deals that happen, or is it continued to basically like the promises that were made between Biden and Kishida will be continued by their successors?
Yeah. What can I say? All candidate, including Kishida in LDP for next leader, has a big ambition to make a good relationship with United States. So diplomatic policy will not change if Kishida step down.
I see. My last question before I let you go. Is there any advice, any piece of advice that you would like to give to aspiring journalists who want to cover, not just their country politics, but also international global affairs, just like you're doing in Washington, D.C.?
Okay. Yeah. I think it is important to have interest in everything. Everything in the world is connected. I recommend young journalists to take the trouble to visit places in person, even if it seems useless. For example, every morning, wait in front of the office of an important person in the government or something like that. It is natural for people to take an interest in people that they see every day, isn't it?
Exactly.
If
Curiosity.
you can,
Mhm. Sure. Please go ahead.
yeah, 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 yeah. If you can get a good relationship with this person, you could be able to get exclusive news or information for the good article. Meeting people is very very important.
Yeah,
And
I
if you are, yeah, and if you are interested in international relations,
Mhm.
I recommend making friends abroad. It's important to use a global language that is English, and it's very good to know that there are different culture and ways of thinking in foreign countries.
I have one last question, and then I promise I'll let you go. How do people in Japan look at India and Indians? Because we really like you. So I just wanted to like how
Mhm.
people in Japan perceive India, and India is now is also trying to go global, just like Japan, and we're neighbors. I remember President Abe Shinzo came to India, and people were excited about getting Japanese bullet trains in India. And so, how do Japanese people perceive India and Indians?
Yeah, historically, Japanese people tended to like India and the Indian people and culture, and we hope India will grow up more and more
Mhm.
because we need to uh, collaborate to deal China's threat in terms of security and diplomacy. And Indo has a big potential to grow up economically. So Japanese companies that include big and small uh, has a hope to to have a business with India.
That is amazing, and and a lot of I know that a lot of Indian tourists have started going to Japan. I was supposed to
Hmm.
go during the 2020 Olympics, but because COVID happened, so I couldn't go. But it's on my list, very very high on my list. So thank you so
Hmm.
much, Ritaro. Thank you so much for joining us and your insights and your story. It's fascinating, and we're happy to have you in Washington D.C. Covering what you're doing. It's very important work. And I'll let you go now. Thank you so much, and I'll see you soon.
Yeah, thank you so much for this valuable time. It was very interesting time. Thank you.
Thank you.